Αγαπητές φίλες, αγαπητοί φίλοι, καλώς ήρθατε στην σημερινή έκτη διάλεξη του τρίτου κύκλου Διαλέξεων Διαμεσολάβησης, Διαλέξεων για τη Διαμεσολάβηση που διοργανώνει η Ελληνική Ένωση Διαμεσολαβητών σε συνεργασία με τον ΟΠΕΜΕΔ. Σήμερα είμαστε πάρα πολύ χαρούμενοι διότι υποδεχόμαστε μία διεθνούς φήμης και εκείνη, όπως και οι προηγούμενοι ομιλητές, διαμεσολαβήτρια, την κυρία Άννα Gonçalves, η οποία είναι και προσωπική μου φίλη. Θα μας μιλήσει για ένα πολύ πρωτότυπο θέμα, όπως θα έχετε παρατηρήσει διαβάζοντας την ανακοίνωση, και πιστεύω ότι θα είναι πάρα πολύ επικοδομητικό για όλους μας. My dear Anna, I would like once again to thank you very, very much for being today with us and to honor us with your presence and with a presentation which we expect to be very, very interesting. Personally, I'm sure. The subject is very interesting and very particular, I can say, because usually we say, yes, what is mediation, what is this, what is that, and we repeat many points. Now, today you present something new, if I may say so. I think it is new, Anna, isn't it? You said that yes. The survey has just been approved.
Yes.
Congratulations and all the best. You allow me to present you in Greek to the audience. We have friends following us on Zoom, but more following on Facebook. So, thank you for allowing me to present you in Greek. Η κυρία Άννα Gonçalves είναι διαμεσολαβήτρια, ιδρύτρια του Ινστιτούτου Πιστοποίησης και Εκπαίδευσης Διαμεσολαβητών ομιλούντων πορτογαλικά. Αυτό το Ινστιτούτο αφορά μόνο άτομα τα οποία ομιλούν πορτογαλικά. Είναι η ναυαρχίδα των οργανισμών διαμεσολάβησης στη Βραζιλία και την Πορτογαλία. Να σας πω ότι η κυρία Gonçalves, η οποία είναι Πορτογαλίδα, ζει τώρα στην Σιγκαπούρη και γι' αυτό την ευχαριστήσαμε διπλά και τριπλά, αν θέλετε, διότι αυτή τη στιγμή είναι 11.30 ώρα το βράδυ στην Σιγκαπούρη και μας κάνει την μεγάλη τιμή να είναι μαζί μας μία Παρασκευή βράδυ και να ξενυχτάει για να μας μεταδώσει τα φώτα της. Επίσης να σας πω ότι η κυρία Gonçalves είναι σύζυγος του κυρίου François Bocage, τον οποίο είχαμε την ευκαιρία να απολαύσουμε σε προηγούμενη διάλεξη. Η Άννα έχει πλούσια εμπειρία στην εκμάθηση, εξάσκηση, διδασκαλία της διαμεσολάβησης παγκοσμίως και διαμεσολαβεί σε διασυνοριακές διαφορές στην Ευρώπη, στην Αυστραλία, στις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες της Αμερικής. Είναι εξαιρετικά δραστήρια διασυνοριακά και διαπολιτισμικά. Αυτό το διαπιστώνει, δηλαδή μπορούμε να το μαντέψουμε και από το γεγονός ότι ενώ είναι Πορτογαλίδα, ενώ μέχρι πριν από κάποια χρόνια ζούσαν με την οικογένειά της στην Πορτογαλία, τώρα έχουν μετακινηθεί προς την Ασία, όπου διαπρέπουν και εκείνη και ο σύζυγός της. Λοιπόν, όπως σας είπα, είναι πάρα πολύ δραστήρια και τα πρόσφατα έτη, προσφάτως, επικέντρωσε τη δραστηριότητά της στην επίπτωση της διαδικτυακής τεχνολογίας στις ικανότητες των παραγόντων διευκόλυνσης των εναλλακτικών μεθόδων επίλυσης διαφορών. Οφείλω να σας πω ότι προσωπικά η πρώτη μου εμπειρία σχετικά με online εναλλακτικές μεθόδους επίλυσης διαφορών, πριν από αυτές τις οποίες σας έχω πει στην Πράγα το 2013, όπου παρουσιάσαμε πλέον και εισηγήσεις, όπου ο κύριος Colin Rule ήταν διαδικτυακά μαζί μας, να σας πω ότι για πρώτη φορά Μιλήσαμε για ODR με τον κύριο Φρανσουά Μποκάζ το 2010. Λοιπόν, η Άννα έχει έρθει στην Αθήνα το 2012 στα πλαίσια μιας εκδήλωσης που είχε διοργανώσει στο Μέγαρο Μουσικής η ΕΡΑ. Λοιπόν, από το 2015 είναι συμπροεδρεύουσα της ειδικής ομάδας εργασίας του IMI για τις εναλλακτικές μεθόδους επίλυσης διαφορών και μαζί με άλλους έχει συγγράψει πολυάριθμα άρθρα τα οποία δημοσιεύονται στην Διεθνή Εφημερίδα σχετικά με την διαδικτυακή επίλυση διαφορών IGODR, International Journal Online Dispute Resolution. Το 2019 εγγενίασε το πρώτο πρόγραμμα πιστοποίησης εφαρμοστών των διαδικτυακών μεθόδων επίλυσης διαφορών, του οποίου έχω βάλει στην ανακοίνωση το link, το site, το link όπου μπορείτε να βρείτε το site για περισσότερες πληροφορίες. Η Άννα συμμετέχει σε πολλά διεθνή πάνελ διαμεσολαβητών και είναι διαμεσολαβήτρια του Παγκόσμιου Πάνελ Διαμεσολάβησης του Γραφείου του Συνηγόρου του Πολίτη των Ηνωμένων Εθνών και μέλος του Εθνικού Κέντρου για την Τεχνολογία και την Επίλυση Διαφορών. Ομιλεί άπτες στα πορτογαλικά, γαλλικά και αγγλικά, διδάσκει την εναλλακτική επίλυση διαφορών σε μεταπτυχιακό επίπεδο στο Καθολικό Πανεπιστήμιο του Πόρτο Πορτογαλίας, αποφοίτησε από το Ανεξάρτητο Πανεπιστήμιο της Λισαβόνας το 2008 και έχει 2 παιδιά και όπως σας είπα, αφού έφυγαν από την Πορτογαλία, εγκαταστάθηκαν αρχικά στη Κουάλα Λουμπούρ επί 8 έτη και τώρα ζουν στη Σιγκαπούρη. Η θεματική της διάλεξης είναι το Παγκόσμιο Πρωτόκολλο Δημοσιοποίησης σχετικά με τη διαμεσολάβηση. Με κάθε ειλικρίνεια θέλω να μου πείτε αν κάποιος από εσάς γνώριζε την ύπαρξη αυτού του πρωτοκόλλου. Ακούω. Anna, I put the question whether any person among the audience was aware of the existence of the protocol. I have not received any answer. Ανοίξτε το μικρόφωνο ή γράψτε. Πρώτη φορά το ακούω από εσάς και εγώ πρώτη φορά το άκουσα από την Άννα. Λοιπόν, λίγα λόγια για να μπούμε έτσι στο πνεύμα αυτού του πρωτότυπου και καινούριου θέματος. Η δημιουργία παγκόσμιων προτύπων της διαμεσολάβησης υπήρξε όχι ένα απλό θέμα. Όπως ξέρετε, η ουσία της διαμεσολάβησης, οι τρόποι εφαρμογής της, ό,τι αφορά τέλος πάντων τον θεσμό, αν μπορεί να είναι υποχρεωτική, αυτό το έχουμε βιώσει κατ' επανάληψη και τα έχουμε πει κατ' επανάληψη, δεν υπήρξε κάτι το αδιαφιλονίκητο. Πάρα πολλές απόψεις εκφράστηκαν και υποστηρίχτηκαν από την εμφάνιση της διαμεσολάβησης ως διαδικασία επίλυσης διαφορών. Υπάρχουν διάφοροι λόγοι που μπορούν να το εξηγήσουν, ιδιαίτερα η ακραία ποικιλία των εφαρμογών και της προσέγγισης της διαμεσολάβησης ανά τον κόσμο. Πιστεύω ότι είχατε την ευκαιρία να διαπιστώσετε αυτό το στοιχείο ακούγοντας τις διαλέξεις συναδέλφων από την Αμερική και από την Ευρώπη και να κάνετε τη σύγκριση. Το δικαστήριο, ας πούμε, multi-door court δεν υπάρχει στην Ευρώπη και είναι μια βασική παράμετρος της διαμεσολάβησης. Εν τούτης, λοιπόν, η Άννα θα μας αποδείξει ότι υπάρχει ένας στόχος που μπορεί να πραγματοποιηθεί, προς τον οποίο οι παράγοντες του οικοσυστήματος της διαμεσολάβησης θα μπορούσαν να βάλουν τα δυνατά τους. Είναι ένας κώδικας δημοσιοποίησης, ο οποίος θα μπορούσε να πλαισιώσει την πληθώρα των τρόπων διαμεσολάβησης με σκοπό κατανοητό για τα μέρη. Μετά από πολλές ομαδικές συζητήσεις, η ιδέα μετονομάστηκε σε Παγκόσμιο Πρωτόκολλο Δημοσιοποίησης στην διαμεσολάβηση, Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation, η Άννα παρουσίασε αυτό το κόνσεπτ που είναι δικό της κατά τη διάρκεια του συνεδρίου διαμεσολάβησης με τον τίτλο «Φόρουμ για μια νέα εποχή της διαμεσολάβησης», που οργανώθηκε στις 6 Αυγούστου του 2019 από την Διεθνή Ακαδημία Επίλυσης Διαφορών της Σιγκαπούρης, το Διεθνές Κέντρο Διαμεσολάβησης της Σιγκαπούρης, το Διεθνές Ινστιτούτο Διαμεσολάβησης της Σιγκαπούρης και το Κέντρο Διαμεσολάβησης της Σιγκαπούρης. Εδώ να μου επιτρέψετε να ανοίξω μια παρένθεση για να σας πω, όπως βλέπετε και μόνο από τους διοργανωτές αυτού του συνεδρίου, η Σιγκαπούρη είναι πάρα πολύ ενεργός και δραστήρια στα θέματα της διαμεσολάβησης, και αυτό όχι μόνο τώρα, εξ αρχής, εξ απαλών ήχων. Δηλαδή μπορούμε να πάμε και πίσω στον Κονφούκιο, ο οποίος πρέσβευε τις εναλλακτικές μεθόδους επίλυσης διαφορών, όχι βέβαια με αυτόν τον τίτλο. Μετά από διαβούλευση με διάφορες ομάδες εργασίας στην Ευρώπη, την Αφρική, την Αυστραλία, τη Λατινική Αμερική, τη Βόρεια Αφρική και την Ασία, το κόνσεπτ αυτό της Άννας, η αντίληψή της, μόλις ανακοινώθηκε και έλαβε ήδη την έγκριση πολλών διεθνών οργανισμών. Περισσότερα θα μας πει εννοείται η κυρία Gonçalves, στην οποία με πολύ χαρά δίνω το λόγο. Anna, I took a few more minutes or many more minutes to make also an introduction based on what you have written to me, to make an introduction to the topic of the lecture. And now,
thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with this audience tonight, this afternoon, and I have a special thank for the Hellenic Union of Mediation and Catherine Kotsaki, President, for this invitation. Thank you very much, Catherine. And this is the agenda that I prepared for today. My name, as Catherine told, I did not understand one word of what was said. Sorry, because I don't speak Greek. My name is Ana Maria Maia Gonçalves, and I'm a commercial mediator, trainer, and executive coach. Originally, I am from Portugal, and I have living the last 8 years in Kuala Lumpur. Now I moved to Singapore in January, and after lived a few years in the United States and Australia, and also 15 years in Paris. So before starting, I just want to say that I am passionate about helping people think. So as a mediator, I help individuals to reflect instead of reacting. For example, all of you know that you do that in mediation. And as a training, I do many training programs in different places of the world, in different language, cultures, and either face-to-face or online. So I help individuals to reflect, to develop skills, to be excellent in what they do. That's my main purpose. In mediation trainings, I help individuals to reflect, to practice how to become better mediator. And today I'm going to share with you a topic in a very short presentation that I believe would be interesting for the development of mediation worldwide. And this is mainly a reflection from Daniel Reiner and myself, and we are now in the phase of explaining it, and so all your feedbacks are welcome to progress on this topic here. I am going to explain what I think is the paradox of mediation today, and then I'm talking about the Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation, the concept, the protocol, the supporters, and then we'll have discussions and Q&A. And so I just say that great innovations are born imperfect, and so like prototypes, And some look at them, at this picture, and some of you would say, what is this? What a strange thing. And probably others will look at this and will think, oh, this is interesting. That has the potential to be improved. And so what is this? I don't know if you have an idea. If you have an idea, you can just say it. If something occurs to you, what is this? What is this picture in your screen now? Yeah. Okay. The correct answer is that it is one of the first microchips, the first generation of integrated circuits that were created in 1958 by two scientists. And few people believe in the future of this. This is the future. Over 60 years later, this thing has become totally ubiquitous in our lives. So the subject that I bring you today, the Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation, this is the first version of something that I believe has the potential and needs improvement, and that will be improved with your contributions too. And so to start with the paradox of mediation today, this is an excerpt of a presentation that has been realized on the conference Mediation and Newware Main Forum in August 6, 2019. It was on the Singapore Convention signing ceremony week. So, like Jay Folder, Professor Emeritus and former Dean of the University of San Francisco Law School, and James Professional wrote, the absence of regulation allows 1,000 flowers to bloom. And so what we can say is that today mediation offers a varied kaleidoscopic landscape, and there is no common core or universally applied practice in this world. And we have also studies that Manon Chonville or Jeremy Lack conclude after a survey of more than 60 countries around the world in a book that they call The Varied Landscape of Mediation, a comparative study of mediation in regulation and practice in Europe and the world. And I can quote, they said, it is difficult to extract clear standards or process for mediation when two parties from different jurisdictions, particularly when expectations, style, and approaches to mediation vary widely from country to country. And so this variety of regulated mediation practice and providers create confusion about what is mediation, as well as concerns about the quality of the service, the procedural fairness, how mediation was sold, and what was the impact on legal procedures. So in what is the reality of mediation today? And as I explained, I believe we are living an interesting paradox, because average user of mediation is low, whereas average settlement rate is very high. I'm not going to talk about Betamax here, but for those who knows what this is, you understand the comparison. So, what are the possible explanations for this paradox? Probably the lack of enforcement of settlement agreements, or the lack of knowledge about what to expect from the mediator. What we can see is that with Singapore Convention, we address the point number one, and we will hope to see results in future. But the second point, the lack of knowledge about what to expect from mediation, is not being addressed today. So, commonalities between the different codes of conduct around the world And as we can see from this slide, there are many commonalities between the different codes of conduct of several leading mediations organizations around the world. Lots of similarities, but also lots of difference. In particularly, some of these organizations will be in favor of accreditation, others not. You can see there are topics that are common, other topics that are not common. And this is what I believe we can refer of the 1,000 flowers that Jay was talking when I start this presentation. So if we were to go into details of these topics, and if we were to explain exactly what each one of these topics means on each one of these codes of conduct, I think we will struggle and we will have very different perspectives. So the thing for us is how can mediation be mainstream if we have such different approach all over the world? And we think that the question, how can we move forward with mediation? And of course, we could say, okay, let's create an universal code that every mediator in every jurisdiction we follow. And personally today, I believe it's impossible and that will never be done. So another road, the one that I'm going to tell you, is lack of better words, an uniform disclosure protocol, an universal disclosure protocol for mediation, and that's I'm going to explain. So, what is the difference between a code of conduct and an universal disclosure protocol for mediation? If we have the mission of a code of conduct, as you can see here, is to set out the expectation about the conduct of petitioners who call themselves mediators. Universal disclosure protocol, it's different. The mission is to set out the expectation about the first thing that mediation will do is to disclosure an uniform set of information that will allow and guarantee party self-determination. So this is the main difference. It's not the conduct, it's a set of topics that the mediator will discuss. And then what he puts inside the topics, it's the flexibility of mediation that must be honored all over the world. The second, about the content. The code of content gives guidelines about the appropriate behavior of the mediator. The Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation gives guidelines about the minimum disclosure that the mediator needs to do at the beginning of the mediation. Very different from the purpose of the content. And also, the basis of a code of conduct is to draw on ethical principles prescribing standards of behaviors for mediator. And the basis of the UDPM is to draw on ethical principles that prescribe standards for how the mediator informs the parties about his or her practice and behaviors. And so we can see here in these slides the respective benefits. And of course, both build confidence in the profession. Also, for the clients, we see a greater transparency and certainty on how their case will be handled, because if we can explain how we are going to, how that mediation is going to be, in what forms, what kind of mediation I do as mediator, what process do I honor with the parties, can be a process that I suggest, can be a process that I, with the parties, I define. What is my role? What is the role of the parties in that process? So that we will going to see. This gives certainty for the client, and mainly if we do it the same all over the world, if everybody that comes to mediation knows that the mediation always starts by that, by informing those topics, I believe that we really improve the transparency of the process. Also, regarding the mediators, it provides a framework for the appropriate behavior that we want to share with our customers. And also, it needs to explain, I as mediator, I am accountable for this. This is what we agree at the beginning of the mediation, and I am accountable of that. And so for other stakeholders, means that mediation will be seen as more reliable and more easy to deal with, because we know what to expect from that mediation. So in a nutshell, the Universal Disclosure Protocol will ensure informed consents and autonomy of the parties, will provide a baseline of what parties have agreed to that mediation process. We know what's going to happen there. We don't need to unify all the cultural differences approach to mediation. That's not at all the objective. We continue to honor cultural differences all around the world. It's a list of topics, a disclosure of topics, not their content. And the mediator will have to tell everybody beforehand what approach she or he is adopting, so that the agreement on process is a priori. And of course, during the mediation, that can be adjusted too. And also, we believe that reconciling the topics of disclosure is much less controversial than reconciling the contents. So, after speaking about this paradox, let's just look what is the Universal Disclosure Protocol for mediation. And the concept from 2009 to 2020, we start by calling it the Code of Disclosure, and after several group discussions, the concept was renamed Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation. Daniel Rayner and myself, we coordinate this development of the Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation. And we get groups from Europe, from Africa, from Australia, from Latin America, from North America, from Asia, between 2020 and 2021. Francois Bogatch also greatly contributed for this development. And based on our main idea from Daniel and myself, and then with the work groups, we create in 2021 a website, udpm.org, where we put all the information. But the question is, why do we need a universal protocol for disclosure in mediation? And in our opinion, Daniel Rayner, myself, and the groups that have done this work, is to make mediation mainstream worldwide, to ensure adequate self-determination of the party. And so what are the disclosure principles? The background is the focus of the guidance contained within the protocol is on the information parties to a mediation need to understand and agree before the mediation begins. So this protocol is the minimum. A mediator that wants can add more things because that minimum will be respected. And also this, as I said, will promote transparency and process alignment and encourage the support of self-determination for the parties in mediation. So the principles support self-determination, acknowledge the cultural influences, promote transparency, respect for the flexibility of the mediation process. All these principles that have very important continue to be respected with the Universal Disclosure Protocol for Mediation. And the objectives for users and lawyers, we are honored this self-determination. That is a value of mediation. And we give really a global message to everybody. Mediation starts like this. Regarding the culture, the religion, the legal system, the country, if you heard mediation, you know that the mediator will start by speaking to you about this. For mediators, they continue to be flexible, but is a frame to the multitude of the mediation practice that can be then followed, and also defines these elements of disclosure for all the mediators. And for the mediation market, it promotes a badge for identify the mediators that use the protocol, identify the lawyers that prefer mediators that use this protocol, identify mediation organizations that follow and endorse the protocol, and other organizations that want to follow the initiative. And also, it allows easily identification of these mediators. So, also, for international mediation organization, this acts as a platform for their mediation members. We know that the mediations of this institution, they always follow the protocol at the initial state of the mediation. And so the declaration that Daniel, myself, and all the groups is that the UDPM does not impose any behavior regarding process. It's intended to guidance, the best practice, to inform the parties regarding what the mediator decides or is going to do. And also, the thing is, during the mediation, this can be discussed with the process, with the parties. So are we maintaining what we said at the beginning? Are we adjusting? How is this going? In order for between the mediator and the parties, the transparency and self-determination of the parties will always be honored. So what are these items for disclosure that come from the discussion of all the groups? First one is conflict of interest. The mediator should clarify his or her independence and impartiality and reveal any relevant relationships. The second topic is about confidentiality. And what is confidentiality for that mediator in that mediation, and what are the confidentiality provisions that the mediator follow? And of course, we think it have two parties: confidentiality related to communication and confidentiality related to any type of documents. And then the third topic to discuss is about the process. What is the flow of the process that we are going to have in this mediation? And we can have different process, we can have different ways, but we speak and we discuss and we identify the process with the parties. Then we go explaining what is my role as mediation and what is the role as the party. And what is important here is more than describe with terms, is just to explain exactly the behavior that I'm going to have and what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer suggestions, I'm not going to offer suggestions, I'm going to have separate meetings, I'm not going to have separate meetings, I expect you to do this and this and this. So in a language that will be very clear for the participants. And we know that in a lot of mediation, at least one of the participants is not familiar with mediation. So this will allow everybody to feel comfortable with the process and to know exactly what is expected from the mediator and from themselves. More and more, we need to include technology. We need to explain what is technology, how is it used, what are the permissions that we want to give, how is communication with technology is going to pass, we need to talk about confidentiality in technology and how this fourth part that is here will be used. And also, very important, the impact of venue, meaning the mediator should disclose any actions or requirements that are based on the physical location of the mediators of the parties, as we know that can have an impact. So, six topics at the beginning of the mediation: conflict of interest, confidentiality, general process, role of the mediator and the parties, technology, and impact of venue. And what we discussed on the work groups around the world is that there are options that the mediators can add to this protocol. And so each one of the topics, what you see in red, are options that the groups have seen as other topics that can be added on the first ones. But all the groups said to message, it needs to be simple. If it's not simple, people will not follow, mediators will not follow, and it will be confusing for the users. So the base is the simplicity, and the options were things that the groups just discussed in order to be also included. And so here we have today several organizations that support the UDPM. We are very proud to have Mediate.com in the United States that follow and support us since the beginning. And you can see here some of the institutions that already endorse the protocol, and we are just in the way of discussing with other institutions. And so I just want to, before going more on this, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Yes, and I just would like to discuss with you about what you just heard, and then I have some slides at the end about to finalize. But first, usually we discuss. I always ask some of you all over the world just say, but Anna, I already do that. I already do a lot of those things. So I would like to have your opinion about what of these 6 topics you already use, you already speak with your parties about. We are speaking conflict of interest, confidentiality, the process, the role of mediator, technology, and impact of venue. I'm just seeing here. Hi, Dimitris.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Excellent. Hi, good afternoon. Good night to you, because I've heard you are a few hours ahead of us, yes?
Yeah, a little bit.
So here's a sunny hour of the day, a humid and a hot one. So very interesting. I can admit I've never heard about that protocol before. Now, listening to you, okay, and beforehand, I have to admit that I may not fully understood what you have said. Sorry to close my mobile. I have not really understood why such a protocol is needed, especially in jurisdictions like Greece, for example, which necessarily had followed the European Union legislation on the topic. I'm sure you know there is a direct mediation directive.
Yeah,
which
I have been on that.
left a space for its transposition by the various member states. Has already transposed that directive many years ago. There have been some problems in enforcement, and eventually in 2019, the current law came into force. Now, I have a difficulty in understanding why all these topics, the main topic, the 6 topics you mentioned, are not already covered by either the law or the conduct followed. Unless if that effort is to kind of giving a global uniformity among various jurisdictions with different backgrounds and different cultural practices and needs. I mean, if this is the latter, yes, I would understand that. But if it is the former, I would think that is, I mean, those things are more or less already covered by the existing law or the soft law, being the code of conduct. Thank you.
Dimitris, thank you very much for your question, because it's the question that we can say, oh, but why need this if we have the law? Why need this if we have the directive? Why didn't this if we have in other parts of the world other legislative things? And the question, you already gave it, and the answer you already gave it on your question at the end. It's because even if there is a directive, you know that the way how the directive is transposed, and we are just speaking about Europe, it can be very different. Also, you know that there are, depending where you are in the world, there are a lot of mediation models, there are a lot of mediation ways of doing mediation, and we want, and we believe that it's to honor. But the question is that at the end, if you have a client, you don't know what to expect. You don't know when we go to mediation, you can go to mediator A and mediator say, oh, I'm going to do this, mediator B is going to do that. And mainly when we speak with lawyers, lawyers say, oh, I don't want to go there. It's a process that I don't understand. I went to that city and the mediator has done this. I went to the other city, the mediator has done that. So the thing is, how can we explain that something that be uniform, that gives certainty for what the parties are going to have in any mediation, in any part of the world, despite culture, religion, whatever. It's just to say, okay, what mediation? I know that at the beginning of the mediation, I'm going to have the explanations of these 6 topics. And inside each topic, the mediator then is going to tell, he's an evaluative mediator, no problem, because he's going to say it at the beginning of the mediation. Is a mediator that is not going to use technology? Okay, he's going to say on the beginning of mediation. Is a mediator that is going to follow in an international mediation? How are we going to address, for example, confidentiality on that mediation? Okay, we are going to define it at the beginning. So from the groups and that Dimitris, it came, it's something that it's really, really needed for making mediation something that it's mainstream for everybody. It's not confused. It's not something that depends on the person. And why the problem, what is the problem? About putting all the code of conduct identical all over the world. It's that it's a long, long process, as I just mentioned before. So to say what is confidentiality and to have only one definition for every country in the world, we could stay here for years. So here, it's a way to uniform the topics and not the content. That is like a step that in our opinion, allow us to bring more clarity for mediation, more visibility for the stakeholders that know what's happening, and that's, we believe, good for the development of mediation. But we don't know that, you know what I mean? That's something that, in our opinion, and after 2 years of discussion with these groups, we believe that it will put mediation in a better place. And then we could continue working on probably having a code of conduct universal about the ethical conduct, and not having like 20 code of ethics, like, or more than we have today. That was the basic idea. Did I answer to your question, Dimitri?
Yes, and many thanks for your clarifications. I can take, and correct me if I'm wrong, therefore. So I can therefore understand that you try to define the minimum topics, but not the contents of the topics, leaving the contents to be specified as the case may be. Okay.
Exactly, because flexibility is what everybody all over the world says. We want mediation to be flexible, and that's what the beauty of mediation too. So it's not the content, it's just the list of topics.
Okay.
So when you endorse the Universal Disclosure Protocol for mediation, you can do whatever mediation you do as you practice today. The only thing you are engaging is, I'm engaged in discussing with my clients in the beginning of each mediation these 6 topics: conflict of interest, confidentiality. I explain the process, I explain the role of the parties and my role, I talk about technology, and I explain the impact of the venue. And so, and honestly, a lot of mediators already do that. So the only thing we need to say is, we are doing it. So we give a clear message to the market. Make sense, Dimitri?
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if there is other questions before I just finish some.
If there are no other questions, I would like to add something about what has been said. Anna, you are perfectly right in saying that, as a matter of fact, we do speak about the 6 points you have indicated at the beginning of the mediation. All the more that since the new law Dimitri mentioned was published in 2019, there is, for a big category of cases, the obligation for the parties to go to what we call a first mandatory meeting, during which the mediator has the obligation by law to inform the parties about the basic rule of mediation, about the characteristics, about his role, about what they have to expect, about especially confidentiality, about the possibility and the probability that they will do separate meetings with each party. And I can say that this is a reality now since 2019 in Greece. Of course, we have to check whether this is correctly applied by all the mediators. Thank you.
Yeah, and the question also, Catherine, and all the ones that listen to us, and the question is a message to the clients. We are doing this, and if the message is a global message, mediation becomes mainstream worldwide. That's what happened in Greece. But if you have an international mediation in Greece with a Chinese partner that comes, everybody knows that the mediation will start like that. Wherever the parties come, wherever the legal system is, wherever the law is applied, that is what we are going to do in any mediation. So this really was the thing that comes from the work groups that we published, and that is on the website that I put, and we are going to speak. It's really important. And just to finish, I'm just here sharing my screen with you again to finish here. And so just to finish, the protocol can be endorsed by an individual council. And so what does that mean? That means that council who adopt the protocol declare that they would give preference to a mediator that signed this protocol rather than another mediator. And the protocol can be endorsed by a mediation organization because that mediation organization will be bound to say to any mediator of the organization that they will follow that list of elements of disclosure. And of course, adopting the protocol as any organization, an organization that wants to a training organization that says, I will train my mediators to do this at the beginning, a chamber of commerce, an university. So the protocol will be more knowledgeable. And so the website is udpm.org. You bringing the support and endorsing the UDPM, you will be part of the Alliance of Mediations for Universal Disclosure. And really, the thing is that we really believe that it will help in making mediation mainstream. So Daniel Rayner, myself, and all the organizations who support UDPM, thank you already for your support. Welcome to the Alliation of Mediators for Universal Disclosure, and thank you very much for your attention.
Υπάρχουν ερωτήσεις? Are there any questions? Σέργιο, υπάρχουν ερωτήσεις?
Όχι, δεν βλέπω κάτι. Ρωτήθηκε πριν από τον κύριο Βαλωμένο, ούτε στο Facebook. Οπότε...
Sergios, I did not understood what you said.
No, I just said that there are no other questions apart the question of $1 million, of course, of Mr. Valomenos. And I think it's quite late in Singapore now.
No, it's always interesting to discuss the topic, and I really thank Catherine and all the association for this invitation. I will share the presentation with you, so you can pass it to the persons that were here tonight, and Daniel Renner and myself and all the groups and the people that you can see the names on the website. We are really open to answer questions and to really listen to feedback in order to be better included and understood for everybody. That's really the purpose of the protocol, and we believe that more and more people understand better, we can distribute the concept. On the website, there is also a presentation ready to use. If you think that you have a particular client or users that want to know, you go to the website, you have there a PowerPoint with the text that you can use to explain what the protocol is about. So please be just users, and we are ready to answer your questions or comments or points.
Anna, once again, we want to thank you very, very much for your presentation, for having done this terrible effort to be with us past midnight. It is 12:30 now in Singapore, isn't it? So we have to thank you twice. And thank you very, very much also for giving us the opportunity to share your website, which I think we will do with pleasure. Please keep in touch. And when all these stories which disturb us will hopefully finish, please do not hesitate to visit Athens again. We will be very, very pleased to welcome you. Thank you very much, Anna. Best regards to Francois, and keep safe.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you very much, Sergio. Thank you very much for all of you that were listening to us, and welcome. We welcome your comments. Thank you.